Namaskar, Jai Hind. US Iran are at war. 28th February, the war started. I shall go over in a series of some of these videos to understand the reasons of United States of America taking an offensive against Iran. Why is Israel against them? What is so important that the entire world is now in a conflict zone? What earlier was a small war between Israel and Hamas after the incident of October 7, 23. This has escalated to a regional war. And from regional war, from 28th of February, all of us are seeing that Israel and America launched major offensive against Iran. A day later, England also decided to join and said his fighter jets are available. A day later, today, Germany, France have also said yes. So it is willy-nilly got converted into a world war. How far will it go? What are the consequences? At the outset, it appears that Iran is all alone and all of them will be able to beat Iran to the hilt and, smash it badly. But on the third day, it doesn't seem so. There are other friends of Iran who haven't still come out in the open. Will they come out? So I'll cover some of these events in one by one, some of these series. And I want to include leadership aspect into it. Understand why is leadership doing what they're doing. And if we understand that, we will understand the reasons of these countries going into war. And we will also be able to see, can they come out of the war because of good leadership? Or the war continues the way Russia, Ukraine are. 5 years on, they are fighting. So let me go over some of the reasons. Let me start back from 1957 when Iran decided to develop the nuclear weapons. So the enrichment started, couple of facilities started. And that facilities and enrichment process was, of course, tagged and not liked by anybody, let alone the United Nations. And therefore, Iran that started with a history of developing nuclear weapons, knowingly or unknowingly, or in a way to say for their own securities. Till 1980s, during the war, I think during the war with the Iraq, Iran decided to develop this nuclear weapon. And at 80s, they took that decision. Iran actually collaborated with Russia and China to take on this outreach program. So early 90s, this program with China and Russia was pursued. And early 2000, the National Council of Resistance of Iran, an umbrella organization was formed. Iran started working on it, but the dissident groups in Iran, they exposed that there were two nuclear sites which Iran was hiding from International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA. So the efforts by the IAEA and United Nations increased. They wanted to reduce the impact. They wanted to reduce. Why reduce? They wanted to stop Iran from making any of these bombs. And as a result, United Nations Security Council passed a resolution called Resolution 1696. And it was a first legally binding document and calling the Iran to stop doing it or else the sanctions be imposed on them. And series of resolutions followed. Iran did not stop, and as a result, there were a lot of sanctions applied on Iran. Between the period of 2010-11 to about 15, the international sanctions forced Iran to come to the terms. And that was also because Iran's economy started contracting. Impact was almost by 20%. The inflation rose, the unemployment increased, and the situation wasn't good. And efforts of 5 plus 1, that is all the permanent five members, and the Iran's new leadership under Rouhani, they created something called JCPOA, Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, in 2015. And all the parties agreed to it. There's some relief in the sanctions given to Iran, and of course, Iran got the relief in sanction, but is known to have continued with the program. So, with this nuclear program still continuing, and IAEA monitoring, and they observed violations, and as a result, sanctions were again imposed. So it was bad situation. So that was one part of it which forced Iran to follow or not follow or temporarily halt the nuclear weapon program for themselves. In last about 2 years, 2024 onwards, we have observed that the tension between America and Iran over the same nuclear program increased. And 12-day war that followed in June 2025 last year, in these 12 days of war, major nuclear facilities of Iran were destroyed. And President Trump was very happy announcing that we have destroyed, damaged everything of Iran. So what happened now? Why did United States have to go for war now? President Trump could have just said, I had destroyed and that's the end of it. But that wasn't so. And therefore you realize that end February, between mid and end February 2026, it was realized by IAEA and other information that some stockpile of the last year's destruction was possibly saved. And there were some reports that time that some of the convoys moved out just before the US struck Iran in those 12-day war. So could it be that some of those vehicles carrying enrichment material got saved? And Iran is known to have created an entire underground facility and across the country at different places. And some of these places are within the populated area so that they don't even know. And then they are not secluded areas. So the situation becomes more compounded. And this was one major reason because of which Trump wanted to attack Iran. The second aspect was that missile development program of Iran. Iran has got a great stockpile of its own weapons, and its missiles are very potent. We are seeing last 3 days the impact of the missiles on number of bases around Iran in the Middle East region has been quite positive. So the effect is there, destruction is there, and he's known to have almost 3,000 plus missiles available, and these are supersonic missiles ranging up to 2 to 3,000 kilometers. And Trump has said that Iran is planning to build missiles that would be able to hit America, and he wants to prevent that. So during the talks, the first two items that were referred were these two only: nuclear weapons and the missile program. The third and the important aspect was the proxies that Iran has been supporting. Over a period of time, Iran has been the founder creator of these three organizations: Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Palestine, primarily Gaza area, and the third one is Houthis in Yemen. And through these proxies, he has been forcing domination in the region. And Iran had earlier created Quds Force as part of IRGC extension or out of the country program, and they operated in Afghanistan, Gaza, Lebanon, Pakistan, Syria, and Yemen. So supporting of these Quds forces and Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, and training these proxies and supporting them with military aid was something that is a serious threat, and the serious threat cannot be taken as such. And there have been problems between the Hamas and Israelis, Hezbollahs and Israelis. Houthis have been dominating the Strait of Hormuz, Arabian Sea, and have been creating trouble spots. And therefore, these three reasons were, to my consideration, were the reasons why America attacked Iran. A couple of more factors that come into play is Iran never wants to see existence of Israel. So very openly, Ayatollah Khomeini used to say that we will destroy Israel and we will eliminate them from the earth. As a result, Israelis also said, we will someday destroy you. And you have seen that the war against these proxies between Israel and Hamas has been on. And the tension which was domination of Iran through the proxies absolutely is not liked. It's not correct. Ethically, morally, in whatever way you consider, definitely, if you raise terrorist force, who will accept this? And definitely, as a geostrategic scenario, you understand that if you have these three proxies, you are literally controlling the entire Middle East or West Asia. And you can't be a Ravan's force or a negative force operating in the area. Iran has been a great civilization. They've had tremendous resilience, patience, and they have developed over a period of time. Ever since Ayatollah Khomeini has come in last 47 years, the secular Iran has become a Sikh Iran. Islamic fundamentalists have taken over. The entire hierarchy is a clergy. And you take from top Ayatollah Khomeini to National Security Council to IRGC to the parliament and president, and everyone has been part of the Islamist clergy, the Shia Muslims. And Shia Muslims and Sunnis always have had troubles. As a result, their fight is also on. So when there is no external fight, there is a fight between Shia and Sunni. When there is an external threat, both join hands together to fight that enemy. But in this particular case, Saudi Arabia and Iran have been known enemies. And Saudi Arabia joined hands with America, which is not liked by Iran. So the war that started on 28th of February primarily was on these three accounts. And there are many more. So there were heavy sanctions against Iran, inflation increased, the GDP went down, people were suffering, there's no employment available, the trade and tariffs are very high, their trade relations with the countries outside have been extremely poor. So the internal problems also existed. And if you recollect, year and a half back when President Pezeshkian was being questioned, that's the time the Hamas leader Hania was present. He had come to participate in the celebrations, and presidentship of Pezeshkian was coming in, and in the heart of the security zone of Iran, he was killed by Israelis, the Mossads. So Mossad and Israelis have got in-depth information, knowledge and agents across in this. And they have the capability to start protest within the country. They have the capability to kill the leaders and so on. So is the case with the Americans. They have satellite information and all possible intelligence available about Iran. So when the water went overboard, the war started. And President Trump has been warning and saying, and for last about 2 to 3 months, the buildup of the forces in the Gulf region and in the Mediterranean of the Israeli coast have been very heavy. The deployment of more than 7 ships, 2 aircraft carriers, over 200 aircrafts is a tremendous power that is available. But power alone is not enough. You see, firstly, why should you have to go to war? Despite all these reasons, is war the only answer? My question is very simple. Can it be resolved without war? And if I put it in the words of Acharya Chanakya, he said, follow Niti Shastra or Chanakya Niti, Sam, Dam, Bhed, and Dand. And Dand should be used only when all other means fail. Have all other means failed in this case? I feel no. Iran has been very dominating. It has created proxies. It is going on for nuclear weapon designing. All right, these are the aspirations of any rising power. The world did not accept India making nuclear bomb. America was dead against. When in 1998 we created, there were sanctions placed against us. But what about Pakistan? Pakistan also has nuclear bomb. North Korea has nuclear bomb, and they've been aided by China. So what can America do? They didn't do anything in Pakistan because Pakistan is needed for strategic purposes. The geostrategy and geopolitics says that Pakistan should be an ally in Asia, South Asian region to further its own interest. But when Iraq did it, America crushed them. When in the name of these weapons and drug cartel, Venezuelan president was picked up. Syrian president had to leave the country. Libyan Gaddafi was killed. So when you look at the history of America trying to dominate this region, this is another part. So when you put all things together, you find you can't hold Iran only responsible for what it is doing and America launching. America in its aspiration to remain dominant is trying to do everything or part of things wrong, which are unethical, and Trump is known to be starting any conversation with Dund, with the show of power, show of force. You all know what he did during the tariff war. He, without talking, he simply started putting on very heavy tariffs. No one would agree. So he started actually coming from Dand back to Sam, which has backfired number of times. He has made U-turn number of times. But in case of Iran, Iran is definitely, I for one say, proxies are unacceptable. Nuclear weapons, if you had destroyed last year, there was no need to build up here now. Second is, if at all Iran needs nuclear weapon, he can also go the way Pakistan, North Korea went. China will provide him. The Chinese are already supporting Iran. Russia can always provide him. So the reason for nuclear weapons being the main cause of the offensive, I don't really agree to it, though they have done it. 3 rounds of Geneva Convention, round in Oman, they have all failed. The preparation for the 4th round were going on, but the diplomacy failed, and even before the 4th round could come in, they actually launched the attack. So willy-nilly, when you see the overall context as to why America went in for war, America says nuclear weapons, missile program, and the proxies. Proxies, I'm sure I'm with them. Missiles, every country is building for their own defense. So is Iran permitted to do it. And nuclear weapons, they had destroyed last time, part of it which is available. And if they are trying to increase the enrichment from 60% to or 66% to 90%, yes, that's a chess checkmate that you can give them. But is offensive the only option? That's where my question lies. But definitely one aspect that no one covers, no one talks, is the mullah, paisa, dollars through the oil economy. So as I look at it, the entire war is primarily for 2 reasons, as have been in the recent past other wars. One is if there is a war, the share market of all the defense sector goes up, or America earns tremendous by sale of the weapons. So that's one primary reason which no one talks of. The second is oil. Though Iran has got about, it's the 7th largest oil producing company, less than 4% of the world oil, but it is a major player in the region. And America definitely would want to stop Iran from doing it the way it stopped Iraq and started controlling the entire oil. And during this period, he can always use his strategic oil for the world to use. So the Strait of Hormuz, blocking of Strait of Hormuz by Iran affects the entire trade in the region, because almost 20% of the trade passes through the Strait of Hormuz, which is about 33 to 39 kilometers width at its narrowest, and that is controlled by Iran and the Houthis. IRGC also controls part of it. So when you look at this, that Iran's control of Strait of Hormuz, Iran being a dominant player in the Middle East, Iran being a supporter or the founder of the proxies, these are the reasons which possibly are the backbone of what President Trump has been saying. So let us see in the next video. I'll talk about day one of the war and other aspects. So I hope you enjoyed understanding the logic of why America went in for war against Iran, and what are the pluses and minuses on both sides. With that, let's close today's session one on the reasons, and we'll continue to talk. Do follow, share, and care. All the very best. Jai Hind.